Hi, I'm Herm Gailey. We're here to make a video about advancing the rollback. We'll put a link up to our original video done with a young horse showing the very beginnings of the rollback. Now today I'm going to cheat and ride a horse and certainly more advanced just to show how you progress that process, because the other younger horse really hasn't gotten to this stage yet and we want to go ahead and make this video. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'll introduce the process and sort of take you through it on this horse, who is kind of a stand-in for a green horse. But you may be able to see a little more like the final result with him, because he's pretty well advanced at doing this sort of thing. He's no reiner, but he's a good handy horse. So what you do in the very beginning is you'll use the fence. And this is what we did the last video, but just as a short little refresher. You come around at a trot, and you come to a place where you create a V with your horse's body and the fence, and you use, in this case, your right rein to go back through that V. So the V compresses your horse. You don't have to pull on him, you just direct him. And in this and in the other sequence that I'll show you, you always want to make at least 2 circles, because particularly with this rendition where we're just turning into the V, a horse will absolutely start to set up very quickly, start to anticipate, start to beat you to the punch. So this time, if he feels good, I'm just gonna tuck him over to the left and bring him back across himself. So you use that to pick up their front end, send them back through the rollback, and then I'll just stop him there and let him stand, so that he doesn't get too habituated to always turning every time we go by the fence. Now, you also, as your horse gets broker, you'll do that from a lope. But I'm going to just sort of demonstrate the new technique, and we'll probably incorporate the lope in that. So you come along at a trot, and you get this time parallel with the fence and about 3.5 to 4 feet away from the fence. So instead of shaping that or creating that V, you get parallel, you stop, and you back up. And you get your horse soft in the back up and turning back over his hocks. And I like to leave in a lope. But with a green horse, and you didn't have to baby this guy, but I'll come back to a trot so that you're not incorporating so many different things. So you have some lope, but you're not bringing them into the turn from a lope, but you're getting a departure built, getting your horse compressed, building some coil. So get your horse square, stop, back, back, back. Now, if he would start to jump to the side, keep backing. Just keep backing until it feels good. Don't let him start to get out of shape. Don't let him start to initiate the turn. But you get here. Now, the important thing with both of these is to leave with energy. So I've got my trusty little dressage stick here, and rather than using up my legs on him, I'll just tap him and send him out. So I'm going to turn him with no particular urgency, but I'm going to use the speed, the impulsion that comes after the turn to build more forward motion that will eventually bleed over into the turn itself. So Get him square, get him parallel, stop. I see he wanted to put his hip toward the fence, back him a couple steps, turn quietly, and then send him out. Now break down to your trot. Pass the fence this time. Change your stick. So you're using the departure from the turn to build the turn. Instead of wrestling your horse around in the turn itself, trying to accelerate him there, let the departure bleed back into the rollback itself. So we're going to stop, we're going to back up, and we're going to turn. And see there, I didn't chase him much. He was ready to leave with energy. And of course you can go ahead and lope on by. But before you get ready to turn, you want to have yourself squared away at a trot. You don't have to go right into a back up. You can stand there for a second, build some patience, back up, get him back in freely, begin the turn, and go. So there's a moment when you're about 7/8 the way through the turn, when he's already fully committed, when you can begin the drive that will lead to him really pushing off and springing through that turn. Let him trot a little bit here. Get him straight. Stop him. I see he wants to be a little apprehensive, so I'm going to just quietly back him up. Oh, wait a minute. Back him up. And then turn. And then after a bit you can lose that stick, which I really didn't have to use much on him. This is a good old boy who's the world's biggest chicken. He thinks that stick is a deadly weapon, even though I can beat myself over the legs with it all day and never even feel it. We're going to stop. Back a couple steps, get him squared away. And he really cracked back through there pretty good. So what we'll do now is we'll eliminate the backup. We'll stop and do a true rollback. So we don't always need to back up. We wean them off of that, but we can always go back to it, and we can always use it if we have to discourage anticipation. So I'll roll him to the right without a backup. And it's remarkable how little you need to do this before a relatively green horse will start coming back through themselves, start stepping off into a canter, and basically making a real effort to turn around. Whoa. So after you've done that for a bit, you can go to the outside of your circle and begin the process of taking the horse off the fence altogether. But you take it in steps, and after a bit you got a horse, when you just simply pick up on him and say, hey, can you do a full half turn? You're going to get it, even if you're just sitting there. Biggest thing, or a big thing you have to remember is to keep that distinct from your turnaround. So if you're going to turn your horse or spin him, you sort of shape him a little different. But you can see you get a little bit of that hoppiness, because in a rollback, a horse does lift their front legs off the ground, at least in a true rollback. You'll see a lot of reiners do a stop and a half spin, but really they should sweep. If you watch a cutter sweep, they sweep across themselves, and that's the ideal rollback. So after you've done that a little bit, you might want to say, now remember, there's two different things going on here. There's that rollback and then there's the spin, and don't get them confused. And this is not my advertisement for the world's greatest reiner, but as I said, he's a handy horse, and he got back to doing that useful utilitarian turnaround without hopping real quickly. He just needs to be sure to be able to separate between the sweep and go of the rollback and the stay and step of the spin. So that's another segment on the rollback. We will probably follow up with Melanie's 3-year-old as she gets more advanced in doing that same maneuver, and we'll show her progress through this as a green horse. But that is the nuts and bolts of it on a horse that already knows the ropes. Hopefully this was useful to you. Come back and see us next time.